Chapter 8, Part 1, Blood Trail. Crimson droplets patterned the sand beneath Sirocco's tireless stride, each one marking Elian's passage like breadcrumbs in a child's fable. The cuts across his forearms had reopened during the relentless pursuit, the wound on his cheek crusting only to split again with each grimace. Blood scent hung in the air around him, a silent beacon to the desert's opportunistic hunters. The sun hung low on the western horizon, bleeding amber and scarlet across cloudless sky. In the lengthening shadows, Elian hunched over Sirocco's neck, urging the strider to maintain his ground-eating pace despite the creature's occasional worried trills.
"Just a little farther,"
he murmured, voice rough with thirst and exhaustion.
"We can't lose their trail."
Ahead, the distant dust cloud had dispersed, but Sirocco's specialized tracking sense followed disturbances in the sand that human eyes could never detect. The strider's head bobbed in a distinctive pattern that indicated pursuit of specific scent markers. Thalia's scent, which the creature had come to recognize during their journey together. Elian shifted in the saddle, wincing as dried blood pulled against raw flesh. The silver knife hung useless at his belt, its blade dormant after expending ancient magic in that single devastating strike. His mother's final gift now served only as reminder of heritage he had spent a lifetime denying, of power that had awakened briefly only to recede beyond conscious reach. The silver streak in his hair caught the fading light, its unnatural gleam a counterpoint to the natural darkening of his surroundings. Evening approached with desert swiftness, the merciless heat of day surrendering to bone-deep chill of night, with barely a breath between extremes. A rational voice in Elian's mind, the voice that had kept him alive through countless desert crossings, whispered warnings he deliberately ignored. Night travel in blood-soaked clothing, exhaustion clouding judgment. No companions to stand watch, every desert survival rule violated in service to desperate pursuit.
"We'll find her,"
he promised Sirocco. The words meant more for himself than for the strider.
"before Aurelius can use her for whatever he's planning."
The final sliver of sun disappeared beneath the horizon, leaving only deepening indigo and the first scattered stars in its wake. Darkness flowed across the landscape like spilled ink, transforming familiar terrain into mysterious territory, where shadows possessed depth and intention beyond mere absence of light. Sirocco's pace faltered, his head lifting in a gesture Elian recognized instantly. Alert wariness, senses detecting something beyond human perception. The strider's long neck swiveled toward a dune formation to their right, scales along his throat flaring slightly in threat display. Elian reached for his non-magical backup blade, muscles tensing despite bone-deep fatigue. Years of desert survival had taught him to trust his mount's instincts without question. If Sirocco sensed danger, danger existed, whether visible to human eyes or not. A low hiss whispered across the cooling sand, so subtle that it might have been merely wind finding passage between dunes. But wind didn't raise the fine hairs on the back of Elian's neck. Wind didn't carry the distinctive musk of predatory anticipation.
"Steady,"
he murmured, guiding Sirocco into a defensive position, with his back toward the most stable terrain feature available, a jutting rock formation that would prevent attack from behind.
"Show yourself, Hunter. Let's not waste time with games."
The sand 20 paces ahead rippled, subtle disturbance expanding outward like water responding to dropped stone. From within this circular motion emerged a creature born of nightmares and desert evolution, a dusk scorpid, its segmented body easily the length of 3 men laid end to end. Carapace the color of dried blood absorbed what little light remained, rendering it nearly invisible except when it moved. Multiple eyes arranged in precise constellation patterns gleamed with cold intelligence as they fixed on Elian. The scorpid's massive front pincers clicked together, producing that same threatening hiss he'd detected moments earlier. Its tail arched overhead, stinger glistening with paralyzing venom that would render prey immobile but conscious, allowing the creature to consume its victims alive, preserving meat freshness in the desert heat.
Sand and stars.
Elian breathed, recognizing one of the desert's most dangerous predators.
You've chosen poorly tonight, Nightmare.
Beneath him, Sirocco trembled but held position. The strider's natural instinct to flee warred with training and loyalty that kept him steady despite primal fear. His clawed feet scraped against stone, body tensing for whatever evasive action Elian might command. The scorpid advanced with astonishing speed for its size, segmented legs propelling it across sand with fluid grace that defied its monstrous appearance. Its pincers extended wide, seeking to flank and capture rather than immediately kill. Elian waited until the last possible moment before signaling Sirocco with a specific pressure of his knees. The strider leapt sideways, a maneuver few would expect from such a seemingly ungainly creature. The scorpid's right pincer closed on empty air where they had stood heartbeats earlier. Reaching into his pack without taking his eyes from the predator, Elian withdrew a small cloth pouch containing dried desert herbs. With practiced efficiency, he struck a spark crystal against his blade, igniting the herbs into smoldering bundle that released pungent green smoke. The scorpid recoiled, multiple eyes blinking rapidly as the acrid smoke assaulted sensitive receptors. The creature's tail lashed violently, stinger striking sand where Elian had been moments before, spattering venom that sizzled against cold stone. Using the momentary distraction, Elian guided Sirocco in a circular pattern around the predator, the strider's long legs carrying them just beyond pincer reach. The herb bundle continued releasing disorienting smoke, creating a hazy veil between hunter and intended prey.
Not enough?
He muttered, recognizing the scorpid's anger replacing its initial sensory confusion. His pack contained limited resources, exhausted by their long journey and the morning's battle.
Need something more permanent.
The scorpid renewed its attack, compensating for the smoke by relying on vibration sensors along its legs to detect movement. Its massive body rotated with alarming precision, tracking Sirocco's path despite the visual impairment. Elian reached into an inner pocket, fingers closing around one of his few remaining glass spheres, this one containing amber liquid that sloshed with unnatural heaviness. A precious resource saved for dire circumstances, which this qualifying beyond question. As the scorpid charged again, he hurled the sphere directly at the juncture where carapace segments connected at the creature's midsection. The glass shattered on impact, releasing a viscous fluid that immediately hardened upon contact with air. The amber substance expanded, forming a crystalline structure that locked around the scorpid. The predator thrashed violently, its front section twisting with desperate strength as the hardening resin continued to spread across its exoskeleton. Its tail whipped forward, attempting to strike the immobilizing substance with precisely aimed venom. Elian seized the opportunity created by the creature's distraction. Drawing his blade, he guided Sirocco into striking position. The strider, sensing his intent, gathered himself, then launched into a powerful leap that carried them directly over the scorpid's struggling form. At the apex of the jump, Elian plunged his blade downward with all his remaining strength, targeting the narrow gap where head connected to thorax, the single vulnerability in the creature's otherwise impenetrable armor. The blade sank deep, black ichor spraying upward as it severed critical neural connections. The scorpid's body convulsed, limbs thrashing in reflexive death spasm that caught Elian's leg as they landed. Razor-edged carapace sliced through his trousers, laying open flesh from knee to ankle in a single devastating strike.
Ah!
The cry escaped before he could suppress it, pain lancing through his leg with white-hot intensity. He clung to Sirocco's harness as the strider carried them clear of the dying predator's reach. blood flowing freely down his leg to stain the sand beneath them. With trembling hands, he guided Sirocco toward the rock formation that had previously served as defensive position. The strider settled carefully, lowering himself to allow Elian easier dismount. Each movement sent fresh waves of agony through his injured leg, the cut deeper than initial assessment had suggested.
No choice,
He muttered, retrieving medical supplies from his pack with fingers numbed by encroaching shock.
Can't continue bleeding like this.
The wound required stitches, a process he'd performed on himself before, though never under such adverse conditions. Night had fully claimed the desert, stars overhead providing meager illumination supplemented by small, crystalline light he activated with touch. The pale blue glow cast ghostly shadows across his torn flesh as he cleaned the wound with precious water and antiseptic powder. Threading the curved bone needle proved nearly impossible with trembling fingers. Exhaustion from the day's battles, blood loss, and relentless pursuit conspired to make the simplest tasks monumental challenges. 3 attempts yielded success on the 4th, the thread finally passing through the needle's eye.
Hold steady,
He instructed himself, voice barely audible above the desert night sounds that had resumed after the Scorpid's defeat.
Clean straight stitches.
The first puncture through flesh nearly caused him to pass out, darkness encroaching at the edges of his vision. He forced himself to continue, despite the pain, each stitch requiring greater concentration than the last, as blood loss and exhaustion claimed increasing territory from consciousness. Halfway through the procedure, the needle slipped from suddenly nerveless fingers. Elian stared at it, lying on the sand, unable to summon strength to retrieve it. The silver streak in his hair seemed to pulse with faint luminescence as his vision tunneled inward, his body finally surrendering to limits he had been denying for hours.
No,
He protested weakly, struggling against unconsciousness that flowed over him like inexorable tide.
Thalia, have to find...
Darkness claimed him before he could complete the thought, his body slumping sideways against Sirocco's scaled flank. The strider adjusted position to support his unconscious rider, long neck curving protectively as nocturnal desert stirred to life around them. Elian opened his eyes to star-filled void. Not the familiar constellations of desert night, but an endless expanse of cosmic brilliance surrounding a glass bridge that extended into infinity. Beneath his feet, the transparent surface revealed galaxies spiraling in slow, majestic rotation.
The dreamscape.
He realized, recognizing this place between worlds that he had visited accidentally with Thalia. But this time, he stood alone on the bridge. Or so he initially thought. A figure coalesced from the starlight ahead, approaching with the fluid grace of someone navigating familiar territory. With each step, the form became more defined, a tall man whose skin contained shifting constellations, whose eyes held the depth of space itself. Silver-white hair caught light from stars that existed both around and within him.
My son?
The figure greeted, his voice carrying that distinctive multiple-tone quality Elian had experienced only in his own Dreamwalker manifestation during battle.
At last.
Elian stood frozen, recognition awakening within him despite never having met this man in waking life. The silver streak in his own hair tingled in response to the newcomer's presence, confirming what instinct already knew.
Father,
He acknowledged, surprise rendering his voice barely audible, even in this realm where physical limitations held little meaning. Nick smiled, an expression of such profound affection that Elian felt it like physical warmth, despite the dreamscape's inherent coolness. The stars beneath his father's skin arranged themselves in patterns that somehow conveyed emotion more clearly than facial expressions ever could.
You've begun awakening.
Nix observed, gesturing toward Elian with evident pride.
The power you demonstrated in battle has resonated through the dreamscape. Many have felt it, some with interest, others with concern.
I didn't know what I was doing.
Elian admitted, glancing down at his hands, remembering the nightmares he had inflicted on the Bellatori warrior.
It just happened.
Raw potential finding outlet through desperate circumstance.
His father nodded, understanding.
The most natural awakening, if somewhat traumatic.
Elian studied the being before him. This father he had known only through his mother's stories and his own fragmented dreams. Questions he had carried since childhood rose to his lips, only to be replaced by more immediate concerns.
Why now, after all these years?
A shadow of regret passed through the stars, visible beneath Nyx's skin, darkening them momentarily before they resumed their gentle pulsation.
The barriers between dreamscape and waking world have always limited my ability to reach you,
he explained, moving closer until only arm's length separated them.
Your mother could perceive me in dreams because she possessed unusual sensitivity. But you inherited my nature, yet spent your life suppressing it, building walls that even I could not penetrate.
Until now.
Elian concluded, understanding dawning.
Until I used the power against the Bellatori.
Until you used the power?
His father confirmed.
Until you acknowledged, however briefly, your true heritage. The walls cracked, creating a passage I could finally navigate.
Elian felt the glass bridge vibrate subtly beneath his feet, responding to emotions he couldn't fully suppress even in this realm. Grief for connection denied by circumstance, anger at abandonment, however unwilling, wonder at finally standing before the mysterious figure who had featured in his mother's bedtime stories.
I don't have time for this,
he said abruptly, memories of his mission crashing through the dreamscape's unreality.
Thalia has been taken. I need to wake up to continue tracking her before the trail goes cold.
Nyx's expression shifted to one of gentle amusement, starlight dancing beneath his skin in patterns that suggested laughter without sound.
Bleeding into the sand while unconscious,
he observed with raised eyebrow.
A most effective rescue strategy.
I don't have another option.
Elian snapped, frustration breaking through composure.
Every moment I spend here, she gets farther away.
There are always options for those who walk between worlds,
his father countered, gesturing toward the infinite void surrounding their glass bridge.
Especially when pursuing one to whom you are connected.
Elian's eyes narrowed, suspicion mingling with desperate hope.
Yeah, what do you mean, connected?
Nyx moved closer, studying his son with eyes that contained galaxies. His expression softened into something resembling compassion mixed with amusement.
I've watched you when I could glimpse through the walls you built,
he said quietly.
Watched you deny your heritage, your abilities, your potential. But most painfully, watched you deny your heart.
My heart has nothing to do with this,
Elian protested, though the words sounded hollow even to his own ears.
Thalia is the Fathomark's daughter. I'm her assigned protector. Nothing more.
The stars beneath Nyx's skin arranged themselves in patterns that somehow conveyed profound skepticism without a single word being spoken. When he finally responded, his multiple-toned voice carried both humor and ancient wisdom.
Then why kill yourself chasing her?
He asked simply.
Why fight impossible odds, sustain potentially mortal wounds, drive yourself beyond all reasonable endurance, for mere duty?
The bridge beneath Elian's feet trembled again, responding to emotions he refused to acknowledge even here, in a realm built from essence rather than appearance. He turned away from his father's too perceptive gaze, staring instead into the cosmic void that surrounded them.
What's your point?
He asked, voice rough with exhaustion that transcended physical reality to manifest even in dreams.
I'm pursuing her because I must. Because Aurelius wants her for something terrible. Because it's my responsibility to protect her.
Your responsibility?
His father repeated, the words carrying weight beyond their simplicity.
Curious how quickly responsibility transforms into something deeper when the right soul crosses our path.
He stepped around to face Elian directly, forcing eye contact that seemed to connect them on levels beyond mere vision. The stars within his form brightened, power gathering around him like atmosphere.
Dreamwalkers can traverse great distances in heartbeats.
He explained, his tone shifting to something more practical.
Easiest along paths created by connection. Love, Elian. The strongest bridge between souls.
Elian began, the automatic denial dying on his lips as his father raised one eyebrow in silent challenge.
She doesn't feel the same. We barely know each other.
Some souls recognize each other instantly.
His father countered gently.
Some connections exist before first meetings, waiting only for circumstance to reveal what was always there.
His expression softened further, memory shadowing his features.
Your mother and I knew within moments. Sometimes, Elian, the heart recognizes what the mind requires time to accept.
Even if that were true.
Elian struggled against hope that felt dangerously close to certainty.
Even if I did care for her, she's been taken far away. How would this dreamwalking ability help?
Nick smiled, a genuine expression that transformed his otherworldly features into something almost human in its warmth.
Call to her,
he suggested, gesturing toward the infinite expanse beyond their bridge.
not with voice or conventional thought, but with essence. If she cares for you as you care for her, even if neither has admitted this truth, her dreaming mind will respond. A bridge will form between you, allowing passage faster than physical pursuit could ever achieve.
The possibility sent hope and terror coursing through Elian in equal measure. Hope that he might reach Thalia before Aurelius could implement whatever plans he had for her. Terror at what accepting this power, and the feelings that enabled it, might mean for the carefully constructed identity he had maintained throughout his adult life.
I wouldn't know how to begin,
he admitted, his voice smaller than he'd intended.
You already have begun,
his father replied, pointing to the silver streak in Elian's hair that now glowed with faint luminescence.
The connection exists. You need only acknowledge it.
The dreamscape around them shifted subtly, stars rearranging themselves into new constellations. The glass bridge beneath their feet extended further into the void, pointing toward something distant yet somehow approaching. Another consciousness moving through dreams, perhaps.
She sleeps, though unwillingly.
His father observed, gaze fixed on that distant point.
Drugged, perhaps, or unconscious from mistreatment. But her dreaming mind remains active, searching.
Something cold settled in Elian's chest at the confirmation of Thalia's captivity, hardening into resolve that transcended uncertainty.
Show me,
he requested, decision crystallizing within him.
Show me how to reach her.
Nix's expression shifted to one of fierce pride, the stars beneath his skin brightening with almost painful intensity. He placed both hands on Elian's shoulders, the touch connecting them more directly than mere physical contact could have in the waking world.
First,
he said, his multiple-toned voice resonating through Elian's entire being.
You must accept what you have been denying since you first laid eyes on her.
The dreamscape waited, infinite and patient, as Elian faced the truth he had been evading through duty and denial and carefully maintained distance. The glass bridge beneath him seemed to hold its breath, awaiting acknowledgement that would transform possibility into pathway.
Say it,
his father encouraged gently, the stars within his form pulsing in rhythm like heartbeat.
Not for me, for yourself.
Elian closed his eyes, searching for courage to voice what his heart had known since that first dance at the Convergence Masquerade, when a masked woman's touch had resonated through his being with recognition that transcended rational explanation.
Yeah, I love her,
he whispered, the admission sending tremors through the glass bridge beneath his feet.
I love Thalia.
When he opened his eyes, the dreamscape had transformed around them. The distant point had drawn significantly closer, now recognizable as another section of bridge extending toward them from the opposite direction. Upon it stood a feminine silhouette wreathed in mist, features indistinct yet somehow familiar.
She hears you,
his father murmured, satisfaction evident in his tone.
Even in drugged sleep, even across physical distance, she responds to your call.
Hope swelled within Elian's chest, nearly overwhelming in its intensity after hours of desperate pursuit and growing despair.
How do I reach her?
He asked, eyes fixed on that distant figure who seemed simultaneously impossibly far away and within arm's reach.
Walk the bridge,
his father instructed, stepping back to give Elian clear passage.
but understand, dreamwalking carries risk. Your physical body remains vulnerable while your consciousness travels. And your first attempt comes when you are already gravely wounded.
I don't care.
Elian stated flatly, determination overriding caution.
Show me how.
Nix nodded, acceptance replacing concern in his star-filled eyes.
Follow the connection,
He instructed, voice taking on formal cadence that suggested ancient ritual.
Let your essence flow along the bridge your shared feeling has created. When you reach her, your consciousness will merge with your physical form once more.
Elian took a single step forward, then hesitated, turning back toward the father he had waited a lifetime to meet.
Will I see you again?
He asked, the question emerging unbidden from the child who had grown up with only stories of his absent parent. Nix's expression softened into gentle smile, stars beneath his skin arranging themselves into patterns of profound affection.
The walls between us have fallen,
He replied, raising one hand in farewell that felt more like promise than goodbye.
Dreams will always connect us now, my son.
Elian nodded, turning back toward the bridge that stretched into infinite void. He took one step, then another, each bringing him closer to the distant figure wrapped in mist. The silver streak in his hair brightened with each forward motion, power awakening within him that had lain dormant throughout his life.
I'm coming.
He projected toward that waiting silhouette, the thought carrying intention beyond mere words.
Hold on, Thalia, I'm coming.
Behind him, his father's voice followed like blessing and caution combined.
Remember, Elian, love builds bridges, but truth maintains them. When you find her, when you face what awaits, honesty must prevail where deception has reigned.
The cryptic warning faded as Elian continued forward, his focus narrowing to the bridge beneath his feet and the figure waiting at its distant end. With each step, the dreamscape around him thinned, reality pressing closer as his consciousness prepared to reunite with physical form. One final step carried him beyond the bridge, beyond the dreamscape, beyond the star-filled void where his father watched with ancient eyes that had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. One final thought formed before consciousness transformed into something neither fully dreaming nor fully awake.
Wait for me, Thalia. Whatever happens, whatever comes, wait for me.
Chapter 8, Part 2, Bridges Between Worlds. Thalia drifted in darkness like a feather on still water. Consciousness came and went in fragmented waves, each bringing brief awareness followed by deepening void. Voices filtered through the haze, unfamiliar, distant, discussing her as though she were cargo rather than person. How much longer will she remain subdued? The shadow essence ensures compliance until Lord Aurelius arrives. Another day, perhaps two. The words meant nothing to her drug-clouded mind, losing coherence almost immediately. Only sensations remained. The sway of movement beneath her, suggesting travel. The coarse fabric beneath her cheek. The metallic taste coating her tongue that hinted at whatever substance kept her suspended between waking and dreaming. Gradually, the darkness around her transformed. No longer empty void, but star-filled expanse stretching in all directions. Beneath her, something solid formed, a bridge of translucent glass spanning infinity. The structure felt familiar somehow, as though she had walked this path before in another life or dream. Thalia pushed herself upright, surprised to find her body responding when it had refused in waking reality. The confusion of forced sleep fell away here, leaving unexpected clarity despite the unreality of her surroundings.
A dream?
She realized aloud, her voice echoing strangely in the starlit void.
But not like ordinary dreams.
She rose to her feet, drawn forward by inexplicable certainty that something awaited her along this crystalline path. Each step sent ripples through the glass beneath her feet, colors shifting like oil on water where she made contact. The stars above, below, and around her seemed to respond to her movement, constellations rearranging themselves in patterns that almost formed words or symbols before dissolving back into cosmic randomness. A figure appeared in the distance, indistinct at first, a silhouette against the backdrop of stars. As Thalia moved forward, the form gained definition, familiarity sending recognition coursing through her with such intensity that she nearly stumbled.
Elian?
She called, disbelief coloring her voice.
Is this another trick? Another shadow weaving?
The figure drew closer, features resolving into the unmistakable visage of her protector. But something about him differed from waking reality. The silver streak in his dark hair glowed with internal light, and beneath his skin, constellations shifted like living tattoos, visible in brief flashes when he moved.
Thalia?
He answered, his rough-edged voice carrying undertones she'd never heard before, harmonics that resonated through the dreamscape like music.
I found you.
Found me?
She repeated, wary despite desperately wanting to believe.
This is a dream. You can't find someone in dreams.
A ghost of a smile touched his lips, transforming his usually guarded features.
I'm discovering there are many things I thought impossible that apparently aren't,
He replied, continuing forward until only arm's length separated them.
including finding someone you care about across desert and dreamscape alike.
Thalia studied him with deepening suspicion. Her memory might be clouded by whatever drugs her captors had administered, but she remembered clearly that she had kept her distance from Elian after the wellspring, had guarded her growing feelings behind carefully maintained aloofness. This declaration felt wrong. Too convenient, too aligned with secret wishes she had never voiced.
You're not real.
She stated flatly, taking a step backward. The glass bridge trembled beneath her feet, hairline fractures spreading from where she stood.
A figment created by exhaustion or these shadow drugs they've given me.
Hurt flashed across his face, so genuine that she almost reconsidered, almost reached for him. The stars beneath his skin dimmed momentarily, a reflection of emotion she'd never witnessed before.
I understand your doubt.
He said softly.
After everything, why would you believe this is possible? Why would you believe I could follow you through dreams?
He extended his hand, palm up in silent invitation.
I can't force you to believe.
He continued, the harmonics in his voice strengthening, making the glass beneath them vibrate in sympathetic resonance.
But I can show you if you'll allow it.
Thalia stared at his outstretched hand, conflict warring within her. Logic insisted this was delusion, a comforting fantasy generated by her desperate mind. Yet something deeper, something that existed beyond rational thought, urged her forward.
If you're truly Elian,
She challenged, maintaining her position despite the spreading cracks beneath her feet.
tell me something only he would know. Something we shared that no imagining could replicate.
The constellations beneath his skin shifted into new configurations, forming patterns that somehow expressed emotion more clearly than facial expressions ever could. He considered for a moment, then spoke with conviction that transcended ordinary certainty.
At the masquerade when we danced,
He began, the memory bringing warmth to his voice.
you said that some of us wear masks so long we forget what lies beneath. And I told you that we all wear masks of one kind or another.
A small gasp escaped her, the memory so precisely rendered that doubt began to crumble at its foundation.
In the glass spine,
He continued, taking a cautious step closer.
you saw a shadow moving independent of the storm. You asked if we were being followed, and I told you about the umbral blade that gave me my scar.
The fractures in the bridge slowed their spread, her uncertainty no longer feeding their expansion.
And in the dreamscape,
He finished, his voice dropping to near whisper.
we walked this same glass bridge together. You were afraid then too, not of me, but of what might happen if you allowed yourself to care.
The memory of that shared dream experience, one she had believed merely vivid imagination, struck her with the force of revelation. Her hand rose unconsciously, reaching toward him despite lingering doubts.
How is this possible?
She whispered, wonder replacing suspicion in her violet blue eyes.
How can you be here in my dream?
Not just your dream.
He corrected gently, the stars beneath his skin brightening with what might have been hope.
The dreamscape. The realm between worlds that my father's people have navigated for centuries.
He took another step forward, close enough now that she could feel warmth radiating from him, despite the dreamscape's inherent coolness.
I thought I had to tell you,
he said, voice gaining that rough edge she recognized from moments of deepest emotion.
I thought words could bridge the distance I've felt since the wellspring, since you withdrew behind walls I couldn't penetrate.
The glass beneath them stabilized completely, the fractures healing themselves as her doubt gave way to tentative belief.
But some truths resist language,
he continued, so close now that she could see individual stars shifting beneath his skin like living constellations.
Some recognitions exist beyond what words can express.
Before she could respond, he closed the remaining distance between them. One hand rose to cradle her cheek with impossible gentleness, as though she might shatter at too firm a touch. His eyes searched hers, seeking permission for what words had failed to convey. The dreamscape around them seemed to hold its breath, stars pausing in their eternal dance, the glass bridge beneath them humming with anticipation. When his lips finally met hers, the contact transcended physical sensation, connecting them on levels beyond flesh and bone. Images flowed between them, his desperate pursuit across the desert, battles against impossible odds, wounds that should have been fatal, his father appearing in dreams to guide him, and finally, the admission that had allowed him to cross worlds to find her. I love her. I love Thalia. She gasped against his mouth, the confession resonating through her, being with truth that could not be fabricated or denied. Her arms wound around his neck, drawing him closer as the dreamscape responded to their connection, stars spinning around them in dizzying spirals of light. Then suddenly, the dream shattered. The stars exploded into dust, the glass bridge crumbled beneath their feet, and the cosmic void collapsed like water down a drain. Reality rushed in with jarring abruptness. Thalia's eyes flew open to find herself no longer in the dreamscape, but lying on cushions within a crimson tent. Most shocking of all, Elian was there, physically present, his lips still pressed against hers in the waking world. The silver streak in his hair gleamed with fading luminescence, the last evidence of his impossible journey between worlds. A startled gasp from nearby broke the moment. Thalia turned her head to see a brutish-faced Bellatori warrior, his battle trance marks flaring to life as he registered the intruder who had impossibly appeared in their midst.
"Intruder!"
He roared, massive hand reaching for the weapon at his belt.
"Impossible."
Elian moved with preternatural speed, the transition from tender moment to deadly combat executed in a heartbeat. He rolled away from Thalia, drawing the curved silver knife from his belt in a single fluid motion. The blade caught the lamplight with unnatural brilliance, as though awakening to its purpose.
Surprise,
he said, his voice carrying that rough edge that emerged in moments of danger.
Miss me?
The Bellatori charged with enhanced speed, drawing a wicked, curved blade from his belt. His battle trance marks blazed to full intensity, the patterns etched into his skin, glowing with internal energy that doubled his already formidable strength.
"You should be dead in the desert, rat,"
he snarled, blade whistling through air as he aimed a killing strike at Elian's throat.
"You're corpse food for sand serpents."
Elian sidestepped with fluid grace that shouldn't have been possible for an ordinary human facing enhanced opposition. The silver streak in his hair still gleamed with fading Dreamwalker energy, granting him momentary advantages that narrowed the gap between human limitation and engineered perfection.
Clearly,
He replied, parrying a second strike with his silver knife.
your intelligence reports need updating.
Thalia struggled to rise from her cushioned prison, the golden shackles at her wrists limiting her movements. Her mind still fought the lingering effects of the shadow essence, but Elian's sudden materialization had sent adrenaline coursing through her system, temporarily burning away some of the drug's influence.
Elian!
She called, fear for him overriding concerns for herself.
The Sovereign, she's nearby.
The warning came just as the two combatants circled each other in the confined space of the tent. The Bellatori grinned, battle lust transforming his features into something barely human.
Hear that, desert rat? No escape for you this time.
He feinted left, then struck with blinding speed from the right.
The Sovereign will keep your head as trophy.
Elian didn't waste breath on further retorts. He blocked the strike with jarring precision, his silver knife meeting enhanced steel with a sound like crystal shattering. Sparks cascaded from the point of contact, but neither blade yielded. They separated, then clashed again. Enhanced strength against impossible speed, engineered precision versus fluid adaptability. The Bellatori's movements followed perfect military patterns, each strike building upon the last in sequences designed to overwhelm any defense through sheer relentlessness. But Elian moved like desert wind, unpredictable, flowing around obstacles rather than meeting them directly. The silver knife in his hand hummed with awakening power, the blade gradually brightening with each exchange until it glowed with internal light that cast strange shadows across the tent's interior. The Bellatori sensed the change, wariness entering his battle-focused eyes.
What weapon is that?
He demanded, momentarily disengaging to reassess his opponent.
No ordinary metal glows like star metal.
Family heirloom.
Elian answered tersely, maintaining defensive stance without pursuing immediate advantage.
Last gift from my mother.
He raised the knife in formal salute that managed to be simultaneously respectful and threatening.
One chance?
He offered, the silver streak in his hair catching lamplight as he tilted his head slightly.
Walk away. Take your sovereign and go. Leave Thalia with me.
The Bellatori's laughter held no humor, only the contempt of a superior predator for prey that dared to negotiate.
Brave words for dead man.
He replied, resuming attack stance.
Your woman belongs to Lord Aurelius now. Her blood carries what he seeks.
Something cold settled in Elian's expression at those words, understanding and rage combining into deadly focus that transcended ordinary combat intensity.
Wrong answer,
he stated flatly. The silver knife in his hand erupted with blinding light, no longer merely glowing, but blazing with power that had lain dormant since his earlier battle. Elian moved with impossible speed, crossing the distance between them before the Bellatori could properly react. The enhanced warrior managed partial defense, his own blade rising to intercept the strike. But the silver knife passed through ordinary steel as though it was smoke, continuing its arc toward the Bellatori's throat with unstoppable momentum. Contact lasted less than a heartbeat, silver edge meeting enhanced flesh with a sound like crystal bells shattering. The Bellatori's eyes widened in shock rather than pain as the blade passed through muscle, bone, and artery with equal ease, leaving glowing silver-blue after trail where it cut. For one suspended moment, nothing happened. Then the Bellatori's head separated from his shoulders in clean division that defied ordinary understanding of how knife wounds should function. Blood fountained upward as his massive body crumpled, battle trance marks fading from vibrant glow to dull gray as life departed. The silver knife dimmed immediately, its ancient magic expended in that single devastating strike. Elian stood over his fallen opponent, no triumph in his expression, only grim acknowledgement of necessity and the weight of having taken life, however deserved.
I did warn you,
he murmured to the corpse at his feet. He turned quickly to Thalia, dropping to one knee beside her cushioned prison. His hands went immediately to the golden shackles binding her wrists, examining the mechanism with focused intensity.
Are you hurt?
He asked, voice gentling in sharp contrast to the lethal efficiency he'd displayed moments earlier.
What did they give you?
Shadow essence,
she replied, her own voice stronger than it had been since her capture. The drug's hold continued weakening as adrenaline coursed through her system.
compliance drug. But Elian, how? How are you here?
His fingers found hidden catch in the magical restraints. With precise pressure, something clicked, and the golden shackles fell away from her wrists like water flowing downhill.
Would you believe sheer stubbornness?
He suggested, ghost of a smile touching his lips, despite the gravity of their situation.
The full explanation involves dreamwalking, my father's unexpected appearance, and several metaphysical concepts I'm still trying to understand myself.
Freedom sent pins and needles sensation through Thalia's limbs as circulation returned to areas too long constrained. She flexed her fingers experimentally, wincing at the discomfort that accompanied returning sensation.
You crossed worlds.
She whispered, wonder threading through her voice.
For me.
I would cross more than worlds for you.
He replied simply. The silver streak in his hair had stopped glowing, returning to its normal luster. Whatever power had allowed his manifestation seemed temporarily depleted, leaving him visibly fatigued, yet alert to the danger that still surrounded them.
We need to move,
she urged, struggling to rise despite protesting muscles.
Lorene, the Sovereign, she's nearby, guards throughout the camp.
About that,
he began, only to be interrupted by the tent flap flying open with such force that one of its securing ropes snapped. Framed in the entrance stood Lorene, her perfect features contorted into expression of utter fury. Gold flecks swirled violently in her amber eyes, and the air around her hands shimmered with gathering energy that promised pain rather than mere incapacitation.
You dare!
She hissed, her harmonically resonant voice vibrating with rage that made the tent fabric tremble.
You dare kill my elite in his own camp before my very domain?
Elian positioned himself between Thalia and the Sovereign, the silver knife still in his hand despite its magically depleted state. His expression settled into the focused calm of someone accustomed to facing death as professional hazard rather than distant possibility.
I'm making a habit of killing your elites,
he replied, voice steady despite obvious fatigue.
Perhaps you should consider recruiting higher standards.
Lorene's perfect features registered momentary shock before rearranging themselves into cold fury. She stepped fully into the tent, the crystalline whip at her hip uncoiling with fluid motion that suggested it responded to thought rather than mere physical manipulation.
Desert rat becomes dream-touched becomes dead man,
she stated, each word precise as blade strike.
Your impossible arrival may intrigue Lord Aurelius, but your continued breathing offends me personally.
Golden light gathered around her hands, warming from amber to molten fire as she channeled power through ancient pathways engineered into sovereign physiology. The whip writhed like living thing, its crystalline segments catching the unnatural light and amplifying it to painful intensity. Behind Elian, Thalia had risen to her feet, swaying slightly as her body continued fighting the shadow essence's lingering effects. Her hand found the ceremonial dagger still secured at her belt, overlooked by her captors who had considered it merely decorative rather than practical weapon. Something passed between them in that moment, understanding beyond words. The connection they had forged in the dreamscape translated into waking reality, with an intensity that manifested almost physically, like invisible tether binding them across space and circumstance, Lorene noticed, her perfect lips curving into a mocking smile that contained no actual humor.
How disgustingly predictable,
she observed, the whip continuing its hypnotic dance beside her.
The guard dog falls in love with his diplomatic chew toy. I shall enjoy separating you permanently.
Without warning, she struck, not with the whip as expected, but with compulsion woven through her harmonically resonant voice.
Getting ill,
she commanded, the single word carrying magical force designed to override free will through direct neural manipulation. The air between them vibrated with golden energy that pressed against mind rather than body, seeking submission through means that transcended physical coercion. Thalia staggered under the assault, the shadow essence still in her system, making her particularly vulnerable to such manipulation. Her knees began to buckle before stubborn will reasserted itself, allowing her to remain upright despite visible strain. Elian swayed, but did not yield, his expression tightening with concentration, as he fought influence that should have dropped any ordinary human instantly. The silver streak in his hair briefly flickered with renewed luminescence, Dreamwalker heritage providing partial immunity to sovereign compulsion.
Sorry?
He managed through clenched teeth, voice rough with strain.
I don't kneel well. Bad knees.
Interesting.
She acknowledged, genuine curiosity briefly displacing rage in her amber eyes.
Let's try something more direct, shall we?
The whip lashed forward with blinding speed, its crystalline tip aimed directly at Elian's throat. He barely managed to evade, the blade-like edge grazing his shoulder instead of finding its intended target. Fabric parted, blood welled from the shallow cut. An ordinary wound, except for the amber energy that continued burning into his flesh, even after the weapon withdrew. Elian hissed in pain, his silver knife raised despite its dormant state. His free hand pressed against the wound, coming away stained with blood that steamed slightly where it contacted the amber energy.
Enchanted weapons against unarmed opponents.
He observed, voice tight with controlled pain.
How very sovereign of you.
A courtesy, actually.
She replied, the whip curling back into striking position beside her.
A quick death by crystalline edge, rather than slow dissolution in Lord Aurelius's extraction chambers. You should thank me.
She struck again, the whip moving with such speed that it appeared in multiple locations simultaneously. Elian managed to avoid the main strike, but couldn't evade completely in the confined space. A second cut opened across his forearm, a third along his thigh, each burning with that same amber energy. Thalia seized opportunity while the sovereign focused on Elian, darting forward with her ceremonial dagger aimed at Lorene's exposed side. The blade connected, but barely penetrated, the sovereign's enhanced flesh resisting what would have been devastating injury to ordinary human. Lorene snarled in response, backhanding Thalia with casual strength that sent her sprawling across the cushions. The whip followed, wrapping around Thalia's ankle with vicious precision. Amber energy transferred from the crystalline segments into her flesh, drawing scream of pain that cut through the tent.
No!
Elian shouted, abandoning defensive strategy for desperate counterattack. He lunged at Lorene, the silver knife aiming for vulnerable throat despite its non-magical state. The sovereign easily evaded, her enhanced reflexes making his attack appear almost comically slow by comparison. Her free hand caught his wrist, applying pressure that would have shattered ordinary human bones. Pain contorted his features as tendons stretched to their breaking point.
Pathetic,
She commented, her perfect features arranged in an expression of contemptuous amusement.
Is this truly the best you can offer? How disappointing after such a dramatic entrance.
She twisted his arm further, forcing him to his knees despite his resistance. The silver knife fell from nerveless fingers, clattering uselessly to the carpeted floor beside them.
I expected more from someone dream-touched.
She continued, applying additional pressure that drew an involuntary sound of pain from Elian's throat.
Something worthy of reporting to Lord Aurelius when I deliver the girl.
She glanced toward Thalia, who had managed to free her ankle from the whip, her ceremonial dagger held before her with determination that belied her injury. The sovereign's perfect features shifted, something calculating entering her amber eyes. The corners of her lips curved upward in a smile that contained nothing of warmth, only the predatory contemplation of one who had discovered a particularly entertaining form of cruelty.
But perhaps there's opportunity here.
She mused, her harmonically resonant voice lilting with false sweetness.
A moment to savor victory rather than simply claiming it.
Her gaze flicked between Elian and Thalia, noting how their eyes sought each other even in this moment of peril. The golden flecks in her amber irises swirled faster, recognition kindling something vicious in her expression.
How touching?
She observed, increasing the pressure on Elian's wrist until bone ground against bone.
The desert rat and the diplomat, a romance for the ages. I wonder how deep this connection runs.
Thalia's breath caught, the ceremonial dagger wavering slightly in her grip as dread pooled in her stomach. The shadow essence still lingering in her system heightened emotional responses, magnifying fear into something that threatened to overwhelm rational thought.
Leave him alone.
she managed, her voice steadier than she felt.
Your quarrel is with me.
Loreen's laughter rang through the tent like crystal shattering. Beautiful and dangerous in equal measure.
My dear girl, my quarrel is with whomever I choose.
She replied, golden energy gathering around her free hand.
And I've just decided to make your protector my entertainment before delivering you to Lord Aurelius.
She released Elian's wrist abruptly, stepping back while maintaining the perfect posture that marked sovereign presence. Her eyes never left his, power gathering in them like storm clouds building before devastating release.
Kneel before me,
She commanded, the words resonating with harmonics that bypassed conscious thought to trigger primitive response pathways in the human brain. Golden energy flowed from her eyes, wrapping around Elian like spectral chains seeking purchase on his will. He fought it, silver streak in his hair, flickering with resistance as his knees threatened to buckle. Sweat beaded on his forehead, muscles straining against influence that should have been impossible to resist. Thalia lunged forward with her ceremonial dagger, but Loreen deflected the attack with contemptuous ease, her enhanced reflexes making the movement appear almost casual. A backhanded strike sent Thalia sprawling once more among the cushions, the dagger skittering across the carpeted floor.
Patience, my dear.
The sovereign chided without taking her eyes from Elian.
You'll have your turn to watch.
She intensified the compulsion, pouring more power into the golden energy surrounding Elian. His resistance faltered, control slipping as his knees finally touched the ground. A triumphant smile spread across Loreen's perfect features.
Better.
She purred, circling him like a predator assessing wounded prey.
Now, let's give your lover something to remember during her time in Lord Aurelius's laboratories.
She ran a perfect finger along his jawline, the touch deliberately invasive.
You will pleasure me.
She commanded, each word laden with compulsion that made the air vibrate around them.
While she watches. While she sees how easily her protector becomes my plaything.
Horror bloomed in Thalia's eyes as understanding dawned. She struggled to rise, to intervene somehow despite the overwhelming disadvantage.
Elian!
She called, desperation threading her voice.
Elian, fight her!
Something flickered deep in his midnight blue eyes. Recognition of Thalia's voice cutting through the golden fog of compulsion. His hands rose slowly, apparently obeying Loreen's command as they moved toward her perfect form. The sovereign's smile widened, victory apparently assured as she watched Thalia's expression crumple with despair.
See how easily they break?
She commented, addressing Thalia directly now.
Human will is such a fragile thing, hardly worth the effort to.
Her words cut off abruptly as Elian's hand suddenly shot upward, bypassing her body entirely to grasp what appeared to be empty air on either side of her perfect head. The space between them distorted visibly, reality bending as midnight blue eyes transformed, silver flecks emerging within them like stars appearing at dusk. The silver streak in his hair blazed to life, no longer merely glowing, but radiating power that cast strange shadows across his face.
Fatal error,
He stated, voice resonating with harmonics that matched and then surpassed the sovereign's own. The sovereign's amber eyes widened with genuine fear, perhaps the first she had experienced in centuries of engineered perfection. She tried to retreat, to break the connection forming between them, but Elian's grip on the very fabric of reality held her immobile.
What are you doing?
She demanded, harmonics faltering as uncertainty crept into her voice.
Release me immediately.
You want it inside my mind?
He replied, the stars beneath his skin becoming momentarily visible, constellations shifting in patterns that spoke of power beyond ordinary comprehension.
Let me show you what it is like.
Recognition dawned in Loreen's perfect features, knowledge of what was happening arriving simultaneously with the certainty that she could not prevent it.
An actual dreamwalker.
She whispered, the golden flecks in her eyes spinning in chaotic patterns that reflected growing terror.
Impossible.
Apparently not.
He answered simply. The sovereign screamed, not a sound of physical pain, but of pure psychological terror as nightmares flowed from Elian's consciousness directly into hers. Her perfect body convulsed, gold flecks in her eyes spinning like trapped storms as defenses engineered over centuries proved useless against attack that targeted mind rather than form. Her hands rose to claw at her own temples, fighting phantoms only she could perceive.
Get them out.
She shrieked, all pretense of superiority abandoned.
Get them out of my mind.
Blood began trickling from her nose, her ears, her perfect eyes. Her harmonically resonant voice fractured into an ordinary scream that contained nothing of power, only naked terror. Elian maintained connection despite the visible strain. The silver streak in his hair blazed with intensity that cast stark shadows across his face, highlighting expression of cold fury mingled with terrible concentration.
Elian,
Thalia called, concern threading through her voice as she witnessed transformation unfolding before her. This was Elian, yet somehow not, power awakening within him.
Elian, that's enough. She can't hurt us anymore.
Her words reached him where Lorene's attacks had failed, penetrating through battle focus to the man beneath. His hands lowered slowly, severing the connection that had reduced the mighty sovereign to a trembling wreck before them. The stars beneath his skin faded back to an ordinary human appearance, though the silver streak in his hair continued glowing with subdued luminescence.
You're right.
He acknowledged, his voice returning to normal rough-edged tones, harmonic undertones fading.
Some victories aren't worth their price.
Lorene collapsed to the ground, hands still pressed against her temples, as though expecting the nightmares to resume at any moment. Blood continued trickling from her nose and ears, staining her perfect features with crimson streaks that humanized them in grotesque parody of ordinary vulnerability.
What did you do to me?
She managed, her voice barely recognizable. Ordinary human speech without harmonic resonance, stripped of the power that had defined her existence for centuries.
Showed you your true self?
He answered simply, rising to his feet with effort.
The version beneath the perfect exterior. The one you've been denying since your creation.
He turned away from the fallen sovereign, crossing to where Thalia stood with a mixture of awe and concern written across her features. His hand extended toward her, palm up in silent invitation that mirrored their dreamscape encounter.
We need to go,
he said quietly, exhaustion evident in every line of his body, despite the determined focus that kept him functioning. Thalia took his hand without hesitation, their fingers intertwining with a natural ease.